Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of You Gotta Hear This. We are joined by a very special guest today, and I'll hand it off to Mike Baby Monzita, to introduce our guest.
Yeah, everybody, thank you, John, for having me. I'm doing very well. I hope you are as well.
Oh, yes.
Special guest today, my friend for over 20 years, film enthusiast, more importantly, film score enthusiast, Kevin Dennis. Kevin, welcome to the show today.
Welcome. Hey, thanks, guys. Really looking forward to it. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about today's episode. And I have to say, this was, I was going to say probably, but not even probably. This is the most fun episode I have researched. Just going back and listening to film scores from my past has been a lot of fun. So I hope it has been for all of you guys as well.
Yeah, this is a good one. I'm excited to get into this.
Awesome.
Good
I thought,
topic.
yeah. So in the spirit of today's topic, I thought it would be fun to sort of kick it off with a question that I want to pose to all of you guys. I know that sometimes movies can be something that you just do on a weekend to pass a couple hours. But for me, and I know for Kevin and for maybe some of you guys, films have played a more significant part in your life. So I wanted to go around and ask you guys, like, what was the first movie that you ever saw in the theater, and how significant of a role do films play in your lives? So I'm just looking at the Zoom thing. So I'll start with Greg.
Hi. The first movie I saw in the theater was Willow. It was for a birthday party, I believe, in first grade. Yeah, it was like, I think his name was Keith Larson. We're no longer friends, but it was his birthday. And back then you could like rent a theater for a birthday. I don't know if you can still do that now, but it was probably about 20 of us, and we watched Willow. And then I think we had pizza.
Nice. That sounds like a really fun birthday.
Yeah. And
what did you think about Willow, the film?
Oh man, I don't even remember.
Did you think I remember the Val Kilmer's love interest in that film. I remember thinking she was really cute at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure I had intimate thoughts about her at that age.
What were your thoughts about Willow? Did you have
intimate thoughts about him just because he was so small and like you could just pick him up and hug him, just bite his face? It was I don't remember the whole movie just because it was so long ago, but I just remember that being the first one. I know a close second was Fantasia.
Oh yeah.
That was a wild ride for a child.
Yeah.
I would love to watch it again now, maybe in a different state, just to see how it.
So like in South Carolina?
Yes. a different mental state.
Nice. It's pretty trippy. I don't think I've seen it for a while, but I definitely saw it like as a teenager, and it was one of those things where it feels a little bit like what you imagine psychedelic drugs to be like before you've ever taken them.
Like I know the scene with like all the mops and the buckets marching around. That's just got to be fantastic as an adult, if you chose to alter your mental state. The other part of your question was movies and cinema in my life. I do hold a handful of movies very close to the chest, as they say. Like I love watching particular movies at certain times of the year. Is either like a reset or like an end of the year, like, all right, let's see what we take out of this movie this time. And those two big movies are Tree of Life and Interstellar. I usually do them back to back around Thanksgiving.
That's really, a heavy double feature.
Really just rattle the head, and it's great. I've done it a few times. I can't do it back to back anymore. It's just too much. But yeah, those are the two big ones that I really enjoy and can watch nonstop. But then there's the movies like if they come on, like if Goodfellas comes on and I'm on the couch, I'm not getting up until. So yeah, those are pretty impactful flicks. Truman Show, the same way. That's probably in my top 3 for sure. It's one of my favorite movies.
You always talk about Truman Show, and I've never seen it. I need to see that.
I would love to watch it with you.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I'm sure you're on my porch right now, so maybe after the show you can come in and
Once you
we'll
get your
watch-
vaccine, I'll invite you over and we can watch it.
Okay.
That's just the brilliance of that movie is just amazing, and it's crazy because there's even like a real world. I don't want to call it a disorder, but a lot of people will get sucked into this mental state that they think their life is like the Truman Show. And I forgot what it's called, but like a lot of people were suffering from this and we're in this whole big world like, oh no, this is all just a TV show and blah blah blah. Like I don't know if they were really playing it up just to be funny, but there's some people that really were thinking that, which is bizarre. But I saw that 4 times in the theater in
Wow.
just because it was so good, and I didn't want to go to math class that year. And stuff. But yeah, that was I think that's Jim Carrey's best role over Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, that's a great.
Could be a controversial topic.
Over, yeah, over Cable Guy.
Yes.
Joe, what about you?
So mine's tricky. The first movie I remember seeing, because my parents brought me to the movies before just because they wanted to see a movie, so they were the ones bringing the baby. That made everyone really happy. They did that. So I know that I've seen Secret of the Ooze when I was 4 years old. I know I saw Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze. I don't remember seeing it. The first movie I remember seeing was The Sandlot in 1993. I was 6 years old. So I consider that my first movie because it's the first one that I remember. Love it. It's kind of reminds me or makes, when I see that movie, it makes me want to watch Stand By Me, which is one of my favorite movies. So I think that movie's important to me because when I saw Stand By Me, which was after seeing The Sandlot, and it's just got a lot of similarities to it, besides the dead body. Besides the dead body at the end, but it's just got a similar themes to it of friendship and like, you never had friends like that when you were there that age. Like there's a special time and place that I can relate to when I was a little kid, like in my neighborhood, running around playing flashlight tag, which no one actually knows the rules to, and things like that. But yeah, I love film very much. The movies I see every year, Silence of the Lambs I rewatch every year. The Shining I watch every year. Fargo, Fellowship of the Ring, which is my favorite out of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. The Hobbit ones are terrible. Inglourious Bastards is my favorite Tarantino film, even though I want it to be Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, but I feel that Inglourious Bastards is the most concentrated, like well thought out movie he's done.
I had a hard time with that one.
Dude, the first scene, the milk scene, the first scene of the movie is my favorite Tarantino scene, period.
Joe, I have a quick question for you. Whenever Greg mentioned the movies that he watches every year, they were Interstellar and Tree of Life, which lend themselves to introspection. I noticed that the movies that you mentioned you watch every year are Silence of the Lambs and The Shining. What is it that you're looking for every year when you rewatch these? What is it you're hoping to get?
I also mentioned Fargo, which is also a murder movie.
No, but let's go back. Let's go back to I know that. Yep. Let's go back to Silence of the Lambs and The Shining. Why do you watch those every year?
I love villains in movies. I feel like those are the 2 strongest villains in movie history, like 2 of the strongest of all time, easily on the top 10.
Yeah, no question. The Shining might be my favorite horror movie of all time.
Yeah.
Would you?
Greg is very proud of his Buffalo Bill impression. Any second he has to drop it on us.
And for last, like my favorite movie that makes me want to make stuff and be creative is Blue Velvet.
So not Silence of the Lambs, like making a skin suit.
No, I don't want to make a skin suit.
Okay.
But no, Blue Velvet is like a movie that I can watch, and if I watch it, I'll get really inspired to write a bunch of songs. So
that's awesome. I know my friend Kevin is a huge Blue Velvet fan. So Kevin, how about you go next?
Yeah. Well, first, after what Joe said, I'm sitting in my bedroom. Sorry, but there's the Blue Velvet poster right over there on the wall. If I were to pan the camera around, I was actually living in Wilmington when Blue Velvet was made.
So I was actually a lowly extra on Blue Velvet, and
Oh,
got to
really?
hang around and met David Lynch, met Kyle MacLachlan,
Wow.
met some of those
Wow.
guys. Yeah, I actually had him sign a book on the making of Dune, which I imagine there aren't many people that have that book. But yeah, Blue Velvet has always been close to my heart. It's certainly one of those movies that, unlike some movies where you're like, yeah, watch this, you'll love it. I don't recommend Blue Velvet to a lot because I know most people would probably hate it. You know, it's one of those movies that is it's pretty polarizing, but for me, it's magical. You know, darkly magical, I guess I would say.
I've never even heard of it, but I just saw that Laura Dern is in it. I love Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Lynch, I think, at the peak of his powers. And, you know, he would eventually go on to make Twin Peaks, which is also, I mean, amazing. But longest story short as I can make it, first movies I remember seeing were Disney flicks, Peter Pan and stuff like that when they were re-released. But the first movie that really, really hit me hard and really made me appreciate the power of film music. I even have a visual aid.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was the film for me that I was 9. As you might be able to tell, I'm a little older than you guys, so my choices might be a little different. But I was 9 years old when I saw that in the theater. It was the first movie where I really remember like getting really emotional. And the music in the film, this is the first soundtrack that I owned. It is the film that turned me on to film music. And of course, after that, everybody would answer this, but Star Wars, for people of my generation, you can't overstate how important Star Wars was to people of my age. And not just from a film standpoint, but just as a kid, the places that it sent your imagination at that time, I mean, it just sent you in places that you had never thought of before. You had concerned yourself with, you know, Tonka trucks and everything. And then you watch Star Wars and it was just like, took you to a whole new place. You know, I always tell people, if I could go back in time and be any age, I always tell people 9 years old. And I say that because when you were 9, think about it, you'd get up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday just to go play. I mean, you would stay up till sundown, you know, bathing was optional.
I mean, it's still kind of optional.
School wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Judging by my appearance, yeah. School was not hard. Girls weren't in your head yet. And playing was the most fun thing in the world. And so for a movie like Star Wars, when it came out, you know, and the toys started coming out, and that was just another further branch of your imagination that went off. And it's actually shortly after that I got my first film camera and started shooting stop motion movies and things like that. So that's the long answer to your question. But it was when I was thinking about our topic today, Rocky was the first thing I thought of in Star Wars, but I picked something else and I'll save that for later. But that's those two were definitely.
And I should mention, I do want to mention that you are now to this day a professional cinematographer, and I have to believe that was born out of your love for cinema.
Absolutely, no question. Yeah, it sounds silly to say, but it sounds like you guys will understand based on what you're saying. I'm so thankful to grow up during that time, and the 70s I think are the greatest decade for filmmaking, and to be introduced to movies like that, and then to go back and see movies like that and watch them again and again. You know, it's like I said, I can't overstate how much joy that those type of movies brought to my life.
I'm glad you brought the Rocky up because that introduced me to the musical montage, and they nailed it. On every single one of them.
What's your favorite? Which film is your favorite montage? I've had this.
Three, no question.
I knew you were going to say 3.
The Clubber Lang montage, not the Rocky and Apollo Creed montage.
Not the on the beach.
No. That one's
that's so good.
They're jumping on the beach.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I enjoy the Rocky 4 one.
Yeah.
because it's just so, it's so over the top and so incredible. But I think there's two in that one. Because is that
There
the one?
is.
Because there's the one when he's driving his car and he's all angry.
Dude, I
Him and Adrian just fought.
correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in Rocky 4 they have a second montage that includes clips from past montages.
Yes, you are 100% right.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes. I think it's
Really
easy.
meta.
It's easy for people to lose sight of how great a film and how dark a film Rocky is, the first one,
Oh, it's brutal.
because it became such kind of a cartoon. And I love the other ones except for 5. But and they're great fun. But the first film, if you go back and watch it, it is a love story
Mhm.
above and beyond anything else. And it's a dark film. But it's also, I think, just the most real of all of them. Like I said, they got pretty cartoony after that one. But
Yeah.
the
They
first
had
one,
one android in one of them, right? They had like a robot. I
Yeah.
know about
That's
it,
in,
but I don't
that's in
remember.
4.
Paulie totally wanted to fuck that robot.
Yeah.
Way ahead of their time.
I've heard, and now this may not
Go ahead. You go.
this may not be true. I actually heard, I think I read this in like Variety or something, that Stallone had the robot taken out of Rocky 3 or 4, whatever one it was in, because you know how directors always go back and change their work. He actually
Oh,
went and took
back
the
and he
robot
took it
out of
out?
the movie.
So in the director's cut, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
That's awesome. I'll go next. I had a very, I remember the very first movie I ever saw in the theater was Never Say Never Again. It was a James Bond film. My parents, I think they wanted to go see it. I didn't want to go see it. I was a little kid and my parents took me to go see it. And so I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember saying, so what are we doing? I don't understand what's happening right now. And I distinctly, like it was yesterday, my dad said to me, well, we're going to go watch a show like you would see on TV, but it's a TV the size of a building. And I remember in my head thinking, I comprehend what you're saying and it sounds amazing, but I don't understand how that can be real. And then we went to the theater and we watched Never Say Never Again. And I've never seen it since, and I don't remember what it's about, but I just remember sitting there thinking, this is the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I think I'm right between the age of like Kevin, I think, and Joe. And I'm right in between your two guys' age. And I'm from an era where going to see a movie was an event. Now you can, obviously, and with coronavirus, now you can just pull up YouTube. You can watch a movie that was filmed this year. But when I was a kid, going to see a movie was an event. So it didn't matter what the movie was. Just going to see a movie was something amazing. And Kevin, I've known Kevin for about 21 years, and I've known Greg for maybe, I don't know, 15, 10, 11.
17.
I think you guys can both vouch that, and I think this episode is going to be more of a therapeutic session for me than anything. But I have a very, very loose grip on reality, and I've spent a lot of money in the past 20 years trying to escape dealing with reality. And films have been a very big. You can laugh at that. It's okay. You can laugh at that. But I think films have been a very big part of that. So much so that ever since I saw, like Never Say Never Again had such an impact on my life. But when I went to college, I wanted to be a screenwriter, and for a long time in my life, I wanted to be a screenwriter. And I actually kind of was. I mean, I've written hundreds of commercials for a very popular Southern retailer who I'm not going to say the name of, but movies have always been something very significant in my life, to the point of, I know sometimes people will have it's a date night. We're going to have dinner and a movie. But to me, it's so much more than that. To me, every movie I see has a very significant impact on my life. And so this has been a great episode for me to be a part of.
Mhm.
And now I'll go to John.
Yeah. So the first movie I remember seeing was Star Wars, and I'm about the same age as Mike. Where I don't know where that puts me on our timeline of ages here, but so I was probably 5 or something, and that had a huge impact on me, and the music in particular had a big impact on me. I don't totally remember, but my parents have told me that every time when I was playing with the Star Wars toys that I would be singing the theme music while I was playing and doing like the appropriate one for the characters, like Darth Vader's music or, and I think it made like a bigger impact on me than I was even aware of until I got older, like I just think like the way that music affects the mood of a movie and your own mood. I think from a very young age, like I was very struck by that and very drawn into it. And I wasn't until I became a musician, I think that I realized the impact that kind of thing had on me. So yeah, that's the first one I remember being really drawn in by. And then in high school is when I really started kind of diving into movies more, appreciating it as an art. I started to, like look into like Stanley Kubrick's movies, and I saw Train Spotting in high school. That really like changed my idea of what movies were. And then really from high school for like the next 15 years, I probably went to the movies once or twice a week, almost for that entire period of my life. Like it was something that I just really would go see almost anything as long as I thought, there was going to be something to get out of it. I would draw the line kind of, I think, at something that was just maybe too
You're not going to go see She's All That. You're not going to go see She's All That.
No, I might have actually though. If a friend probably dragged me to it, or a girlfriend or something. But yeah, I generally tried to stay away from something that I didn't have any substance in my mind. But yeah, so really up until I had kids, I would be at the movies very, very regularly, and it was a huge part of my day-to-day existence. And it gets a little bit harder once you have kids to go to the movies once or twice a week. So it's, but it still remains, a huge part of who I am. And I think has affected a lot of my views, a lot of my feelings and ideas about life,
You mentioned that it was a good, like a date thing. And that was one of the big things for me growing up, is taking a young girl as a young boy, not like an older guy.
Just clarify that.
to the movies. So like my first date, it was I believe it was a double date, and we went to go see Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah.
But there was a movie theater, I think it was a Brookhaven Multiplex on Long Island Expressway, that besides the actual movie theater, and they had this like island snack stand, so you could get it at any side, which is pretty cool. But they also had a whole like arcade center. So you go get your tickets, you want to kill some time, you play Rampage, you get some snacks, you come back out of the movie, then you do like the claw machine, they had pinball. So that was like a pretty rad place to go to.
Mike talking about the movies as an event. My event for the movies was always about going to Johnny Food Masters, buying $1 sodas, hiding them in your coat pockets or sleeves. If it's the summertime, you would bring a coat, and then you would fold the coat a certain way and stick all your candy and sodas in the coat, walking in nonchalant because they never check you. And we went to Revere Cinema, which was pretty dangerous. It's definitely a pretty dangerous cinema. Like you wouldn't go, you could go by yourself, but you could get in trouble with like bully kind of kids or stuff like that. So we'd usually go in groups, or I just remember going there, sneaking in sodas, like the cheap sodas with no titles, just like pop, like cola. Going there, bringing in the dollar candy snacks from like Walgreens, CVS, or Johnny Food Masters, playing Capcom versus Street Fighter, playing Mortal Kombat 2. We had the Island of Snacks as well. And And then we'd go into a movie and we'd make sure there was a movie playing right after that we wanted to see, and we'd leave theater 1 and go into theater 2, and then get to it a little late. And so we'd try to get as many movies. We once got like 4 movies in a row, so we only paid for one. but we did four.
Nice.
And then the funniest movie memory I have is when I worked at the YMCA. All the counselors were all friends at the time, so it was like all employees would go to the cinema, and we have a potluck. But the potluck was a competition, so we'd be like, who can sneak in the most ridiculous food item? And if you've snuck in the most ridiculous,
like a rotisserie chicken, a rotisserie chicken would be, or like a boar, a BOAR, like a pig, like a pig.
If you snuck in the best food item, you won $50. We all pooled in money, and whoever. So Carl,
a halibut.
Carl wore khaki shorts, and inside of his shorts, I don't know how, but he had a small rotisserie chicken.
He did. Wait, I got it right.
He didn't win though. He didn't even come close.
What?
Oh, wait, he didn't win?
Not even close. So when he pulled the chicken out, he had to unzip his pants and pull out this chicken, and there was a lady behind him, and she literally, her jaw was on the floor. She's like, what? Like what? Like she watched the whole thing, and I was dying laughing that my friend just pulled the chicken out of his pants to eat in the movie theater, and this lady witnessed it out of nowhere. He didn't win. Who won was someone brought the Subway party sub, and they had giant baggy sweatpants, and they had like a ace bandage around the outside of their pants. Like, that's believable. They came with crutches because this is for $50. So they brought the Subway party sub up their pant leg, and they didn't win, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. The person who won brought a cake in a giant purse, and then it wasn't the same year. It was we had 2 competitions. It was 2 different years. Someone had their grandmother's or like a family member's wheelchair and brought pizzas in, and like there's like a bottom area, like a shopping cart where you could like put things in, and they brought in 2 pizzas. So they won. The cake won. Carl's rotisserie chicken did not win because it was about who could bring in the biggest item.
Did anybody bring in a crock pot full of chili?
No.
Okay.
If I would have been a part of this contest, this is what I would have brought in. I would have brought in veal. So I would have brought in a baby cow on a lift. I would have had it on a lift so its feet couldn't touch the ground. And then I would have slaughtered it during the opening credits. And then I would have served it. And I hope, and in this scenario that I'm painting, it would have been during Terminator 2. So while I'm slaughtering it, you'd be hearing da-na-na, da-da-na-da.
I just can't remember.
And then I would serve it to everyone.
Just
And
imagine
then I would have done my hands like this to collect the $50 that were due to me. That's amazing.
The biggest loss in potluck history is Carl sneaking a chicken in and losing.
Tragic.
Because we were so sure he was going to win. I think I brought in like Chinese food. I knew who I was up against. I was like, I didn't really go for it. I think I brought in like Chinese food or something like that. But
John Nolan has a classic line that he says every one of our podcasts, and he usually says it about 3 minutes in, but now he's going to say it about 30 minutes in. And that line is, well, this really has nothing to do with our show topic today, but it's time for us to get started.
Yeah.
So John, I'm going to turn it over to
Thank
you. I'm going to turn it over to you.
This might be the longest we've ever gone talking about the actual subject. I mean, at least it was on, it was related to the topic. So we got that going for us.
You have some editing to do.
No, let's give the fans what they want.
I rarely edit any of this show.